Hello and welcome to the United Stand. It's Monday Night Live. That means we will be taking your Skype calls as per usual, but lots and lots of topics you may wish to discuss. We're going to start off with Alderweireld and Sandro. Both deals, maybe they were never on, could well be off. This is from the Manchester Evening News this afternoon, basically saying that Manchester United... Alderweireld is not one of the top targets as a centre-back, and the baggage that comes with him isn't worth it, in a sentence, really. And the baggage would be dealing with Spurs, the fee involved, and maybe his age and injuries, I don't know. But and then also Sandro. Contrasting stories about this, but in essence... United no longer interested in Sandro. An element of Mourinho is happy to make do with Young and Luke Shaw. Now, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I just think that... Alderweireld, I must just say, it is a case of I told you so. I never for 1 minute believed that we were in for Toby Alderweireld. I just didn't. And the simple thing is, he's a good player. He has got a bit of an injury record. He is 29. But when you're being quoted prices of 70 million or even 55, I don't think United can do business with Daniel Levy. I don't think Man United can do decent business with Spurs. And sometimes in life, you just go, we're not going to get good business with them. So I would have liked him, but I never really thought that was going to happen. In relation to Sandro, he is the left back that we should be going and getting. He wants to leave Juventus, if everything's to be believed. We need a left back, and if it's true, and there's always a big if, and a lot of people will say, well, it's Manchester Evening News, they're not that credible, but actually they've been pretty accurate so far this summer. They were accurate last summer. I definitely remember them saying we're not in for Fabinho around this time, and a lot of people felt that we were, and Di Marzio had said we were maybe in for him, and they were saying no, we're not, and they were right. So if they're saying now we're not in for Sandro, who's to say that they're not right? I want Sandro. There are other left-back options. Fekir with Liverpool just shows you never know. So you've got to look at other options, of course. What my concern would be is the make do. And what are your thoughts on that? Can we make do with Ashley Young and Luke Shaw as our left backs? I don't believe we can win the title with Ashley Young at left back. And the same goes for Fellaini. So you might want to call in and give us your thoughts on that. Also, Manchester United have announced a pre-season friendly against Bayern the Sunday before the new Premier League season starts. That's quite interesting. Emmanuel Petit has said about Paul Pogba in relation to France in the World Cup that Pogba does need to improve, and the way he will do that is by getting angry. Quite interesting, because a lot of you have said that about Pogba. He lacks that aggression that will take his game to the next level. Matthew McFadden actually said, which Manchester United player is going to make the most impact on the World Cup? So maybe when you are calling in with your questions, you can give us that. I'll certainly give you mine as well. Justin Kluivert, it looks like he's going to Roma. We have mentioned that for a few weeks. And very interesting news out of Sporting Lisbon with regards to the Martins and... Carvalhal and Bruno Fernandes may all be cancelling their contracts. Would you fancy any of those players? Anyway, first caller. Hello. Who am I speaking to?
It's Oliver. I called in last week. How are you doing, Mark?
Hi, Oliver. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Let's hit in on that first topic then. There is some reports out there that United not in for Toby Alderweireld. There may be other targets. And again, Sandro, we may be making do with Ashley Young and Luke Shaw. I mean, just on that first point there, and then you can ask whatever you want to ask. Can we make do with Ashley Young and Luke Shaw and win the title? Or do you think it's a mistake not to go and get a left back?
Honestly, I think we'll really struggle if we keep Ashley Young and Luke Shaw at left back. Because if you think what City have done, and they've got the lead by 19 points, and they've played, I think, Fabian Delph at left back, and they haven't played their main left back because he's been injured. I think Mourinho has to get a left back. He's got to get that position nailed down. And I think Sandro would be really good because we need that width and we need the balance. We need somebody who actually can naturally cross, unlike Ashley Young, he's so predictable how he has to turn back on his right every time.
Yeah, definitely, and that's a great point about Man City. I mean, we don't want to dwell on City; they're 19 points ahead of us, but they have got arguably one of the best left backs in the world back next season, providing them balance. They didn't have that last year, so not only are they going to probably sign a couple of players, they've got their left back, which will give them even more balance. So I agree with that. I mean, it doesn't sound that positive about Sandro now, to be honest, but hopefully those reports will be wrong, because I certainly think we do need a left back, and I would agree with you. Ashley Young, I like him as a squad player, but as a left back, he's a joke. He really is. But what was it you wanted to call in about anyway, mate?
So basically, what the title says about Savic and Alexandro, what we've already talked about, I think Savic is a hit or miss. Really, he can be really good, and I think he will define our season. Yeah, we've got our midfield, but if Fellaini leaves, and I think Herrera might leave as well, then we've got. I know we have quite a lot of midfield players, but I do think we have to get that top quality, and that's what we're missing. I think with a lot of our positions, it's that top high quality standard player that will guide us to the title.
Yeah, it's interesting in relation to Fellaini, but just to pick on that very quickly, I've got a funny. I don't know about Fellaini. I mean, do you think he's going to go? I sort of swing from one to the next. I think when Arsenal were in for him last week, I was quite hopeful, but now because even little things like MUTV showing Belgium games all the time, and obviously it was out. I think United released last week that the offer is still on the table for him. I think it's just such a big L if he walks away, because we've basically begged him to stay. I've just got this funny feeling he's going to stay, and what that then means, I don't know whether I just don't know what that means for us.
Yeah, honestly, no harsh comments to the guy, but I really do hate him. It's United. It's the biggest club in the world. I can't believe he's doing it to United. He's trying to do it for the money to go elsewhere, and it's just like, if he stays, then the fans are gonna go mad at him, absolutely, because it's United, and you can't turn down United. And in the first place, I can't believe he's playing for us in the first place. I know it's Moyes who brought him in, and he didn't do the best job, but still, he shouldn't be playing for us. And he's trying to get money, and I just can't believe what he's doing to the club. It's a disgrace.
No, we'll have to wait and see. But thanks for opening up the call for us, pal. Really good call again, and I'll speak to you soon.
All right, cheers, Mark. See you.
Cheers, pal. Thanks to Sonny B for the contribution. We've got a couple of questions just coming in here. Scott Watt says, don't you think saving money in some areas could mean a big purchase, Savage or Bale at some point? Interesting theory, Scott. Thanks for that. Nightmare TV says centre-back would be a luxury. We desperately need a left-back. Jose has bought 2 centre-backs and hardly used them. We've hardly seen Lindelof. Yeah, good point that. I mean, I do want to take another call, but just very, very quickly, before I do, with the situation there with Lindelof, I mean, why are people talking about us selling Lindelof? I mean, this is just like Real Madrid mentality. We buy a toy, it's not what I wanted, although it is still new. Throw it out, let's get a new one. I'm one of those people who don't think we need a centre-back either. I think we should be getting, I think that's a luxury signing in relation to the centre-back position for sure. Remember, if you do want to make a contribution, you can do that through the $sign on the bottom of the live comments, but please do leave us a question like Nightmare TV and Scott Watts did. Good questions there. I mean, just going back to Scott Watts' point, do we think that? Do we think that maybe we might be scrimping and making do at left back with Ashley Young and the centre backs we've got, so we can spend a little bit more money in the summer? We'll have to wait and see with that. Jamie, can you hear me?
Hello, you're right?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Good. What do you want to talk about, pal?
Just transfers, really. I believe Delort and Fred are good signings so far, but I do believe we need a lot more. I was reading something before about how Ed Woodward was going to, neglect other areas to buy a marquee signing. I just think that's wrong. We can't go neglecting, specific areas that need improving. Obviously, our left back position, which we desperately need. I do believe we need another left back. Obviously, if Luke Shaw and Ashley Young's at the club, then Luke Shaw's always going to be second fiddle to Ashley Young. I do believe we need another midfielder as well. And I agree with what you say as well. I do believe centre-back's a luxury. I see people say that we need a leader at the back, and I do agree, but if we were to get a centre-back, I'd get a young, not experienced, I'd get a young centre-back, but I do believe we have them already at the club. The likes of Foster Mensah, Axel Twanzebe, Victor Lindelof. We're not identifying the issues, and we're not solving the situation at the club in the minute, and I just hope that changes, really. We've still got a long time left before the window does shut, but I do believe we need to be ruthless. We need to get Deadwood out of the club, which, looks like a good sign now, but I do believe that we need a left back desperately. That's my main priority, a left back. Obviously, we've got Delort in, he can slot in the left back position. But yeah, as you said, we won't win the league with Ashley on the left back. And if one of our midfielders gets injured, so if we're starting Fred, for example, and he gets an injury just like a few days ago, we're back to square one. We'll not have many players to fulfil that position. So I do believe we need a marquee signing in the midfield position. I do believe Scott McTominay should also go on loan to get first team experience. But I just hope we get a really good summer and we're not let down again.
It's interesting what you said there, because when you said it about the centre-backs, I mean, I know there's a lot of viewers there in the live comments there saying we do need a centre-back, and I don't necessarily disagree with them. I just think, like you say, it's a bit of a luxury because there's other areas to sort out, and I know we haven't got a bottomless pit of money. But more interesting is the fact that Mourinho, whatever anybody says about him, he is a good defensive coach, and as you said there, you've got Lindelof, Rojo, Bailly, Jones, Smalling, Twansibi. I mean, there's 6 centre-backs there. And if he can't find a good centre-back partnership out of those 6, 2 of which he bought, then the club should actually be saying, anyway, look, you're not having a centre-back. We should be getting a left-back and a midfielder. But also, you're quite right about... I mean, we've had a good start to the transfer window. There's a few people concerned about Dalot walking around on crutches. He had an operation on his knee before we signed him. That was common knowledge. I just don't think a lot of fans knew about that. So he's expected to be back training and everything by July. So there's no concern about him being on crutches. I suppose it's a bit odd signing somebody like that, but it was a routine operation, so I'm sure he'll be fine. Fred comes in, but the interesting thing is that it has gone a little bit quiet. I think we're all craving a little bit United news. How confident what do you think they're going to do? I mean, if I was to put you on the spot, what are you expecting United to have realistically in your mind? What are your expectations for the first game in August in relation to players we're going to bring in? Fred and Dalot, fullback and a midfielder. Who else do you expect we're going to bring in positions?
Well, I do expect the marquee signing to be brought in, and that's Gareth Bale or whatever. But I do believe, I do believe it will be Gareth Bale, but I hope it's not. And that's nothing against Gareth Bale. You know, he's one of the best players in the world. It's just the price that we're going to pay for him. And obviously Griezmann has a release clause. So I'd much rather go for him. But I do believe we will be ready at the start of the season. You know, last season we were really let down. I believe we were let down a lot. We were expecting loads of players, you know, Griezmann, Fabinho. There was loads of different names. But obviously we got Lukaku, Matic and Lindelof. So... You know, it's just one of those things, really. I do believe we'll be ready because, you know, at the start of last season, you know, we were ripping teams apart with Fellaini in midfield, you know. So I do believe in regards to transfers, we will be ready, but I can't really see much action before the World Cup starts. I do believe deals will be done after the World Cup. And I personally think that's a bad idea. I think the club should have, you know, got their deals done quick and early before the World Cup. Because, you know, a target like I believe Manchester United are going for is Milinkovic-Savic. If he has a good World Cup, his price will just keep going up and up. You know, one of our players could have a really bad World Cup and the price would go down. So I do believe we'll be ready. I really hope that we do, you know, solve the situation of bringing in left-back, midfielder and whatever. So we're ready for the start of the season. But yeah, see where it goes, really.
Great call, mate. Thanks for calling in again, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, pal. Just up on Milinkovic-Savic there, I just want to... people may know that I have my own YouTube channel. It's called Goldbridge Livestream. If you want to go and subscribe to it, please do. But I have been doing some World Cup challenges on the FIFA 18 because they've just done the update about 3 weeks ago. And I actually did Serbia today, like a Serbia World Cup challenge. And the interesting thing about Serbia is that they're in a group with Brazil, Switzerland and Costa Rica. So they should get through that group. But I would imagine Brazil will probably win that group. Now, if you come second in that group, the first knockout stage, you're probably going to get Germany. So Serbia, Matic, whatever you want to think about it, they're probably going to be out way before the quarterfinals unless they do something amazing like beat Brazil or beat Germany. So that could be a good thing for United. James Howell says we have to find alternatives for left back. I would settle for Juan Bernat Bayern or keep him from going back to Spain. Oh my God, we are Manchester United. Good point. And Nightmare TV says if we bought Savic, where would we play him? Someone's going to be benched. Would we bench £89 million Pogba or buy 80, 100 million Savic just to sit on the bench? Fred, Matic are different types of players, so must start. I think that's a really, really good point. I'll come back to that. At a Moose that rants says, if we want to win the league, then we need Dybala. Interesting. And he said that twice. Thanks for that contribution, pal. But yeah, you know what? That's always the issue with Milinkovic-Savic, isn't it? It always is the issue with him that if you sign him, Where does he play? He's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. United are a business, and will they go for that? Will they say, yeah, let's spend £110 million on a player that actually we don't have a position for? I think we should do. And I think we need that sort of squad depth if we want to win things. I mean, if you've got Bale, Fred, Milinkovic, Savic and Matic, one goes on the bench. The others have got to be on their toes or they get subbed. I quite like that. And talking about World Cups in England never did that. They had Lampard, Gerrard and Scholes, and they shoehorned them into the team. And they never had a natural holding midfielder. And they had one on the left wing. And that's why England were never quite good enough, because they shoehorned the best players in. I think, have one on the bench. Carlos Solis says we're saving Sandro's money for Savic. Well, do you think that's a bad thing or a good thing? Do you or not? I'm going to take another call in a minute. But first of all, I just want to draw your attention to the link in the video description, because it is World Cup, as many of you will know. And that means that we will have lots of people will be having a little bit of a bet this World Cup. BetBull, link in the video description. Fantastic app for all that. Basically, it is an app where there are lots and lots of people who use it. It's like, these tipsters that you see on Twitter who've got great stats on tips and things like that. Well, you can sign up with BetBull and be your own tipster, or with your accumulators, or you can sign up with BetBull and follow people who've got and it's got all their stats on how many wins they've had, this, that and the other, and they'll have recommended accumulators. So if you are thinking about having a bet on the World Cup, the link is in the video description for BetBull. Remember, you've got to be over 18 and do gamble responsibly, but I know a lot of people will be having a bit of this over the World Cup, so please do, if you are going to do it, have a go on the BetBull app. Follow some of the top accumulator tipsters on there, or set your own up. I mean, there's so many games going off. I mean, looking at the World Cup, if you think about it, you've got Russia, Saudi Arabia on Thursday, Egypt, Uruguay, Portugal, Spain on Friday night. I think, is it Saturday? There's 4 games. France are kicking off at 11, Argentina 1 o'clock, Nigeria, Croatia 8 o'clock. There's a 5 o'clock game as well, which I think is Morocco, Iran or something like that. Loads and loads of games going on. So remember to get on That's Football for that as well. But if you're having a little bit of a bet, link in the video description for BetBull. And as you can see with some of the stuff there, 48 people won £2,012 following that ACCA, which was with John Lee 6956. So there's all the different people that you can follow, and the great thing about it is all these people that you can follow are putting up these accumulators. All their stats are there in relation to how successful they are, so it takes the work out of it for you. Or alternatively, you could set your own account up and try and get people to follow you, and they can see your success rate as well. So link in the video description for BetBull. Give it a go over the World Cup, free to download. Link in the video description, Apple and Android. Right, back with another one of those rock blocking beats. Let's have a look at what people are saying. We've got over 2,000 people watching. I think it's gone a little bit quiet at the moment, hasn't it? I don't know whether it's because United's transfer business, the World Cup or not, but I have noticed it go a little bit quiet tonight. I was trying to think what is on a Monday night at 8 o'clock, but maybe, I don't know. We do need a little bit of positivity and transfer news. I definitely feel that. Got Jared joining me. A few of you will know Jared. Please do drop a like on the video for all of our guests that have called in tonight. Some really good calls so far. And also subscribe if you're new. We're getting very close to 234,000 subscribers. Jared, you're on. How you doing, pal?
How we doing, Mark?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Getting ready for the World Cup. Obviously, you're not. You've not qualified, America. Didn't mean to dig you out straight away, but there's lots of good football to watch. But what did you want to talk about?
I want to talk about this rumor that's kind of coming up with Martial plus 100 for Mbappe.
Yeah, I've got my finger on the pulse, and I've had a few people messaging me about this, and I've sort of said, I'm not talking about that. It's clearly a load of nonsense. But I'll be honest with you, this is one thing I've not even bothered to research where it's from. So the floor's yours with this.
Well, I got to be honest. It's weird. I've kind of tried to process any deal involving Martial that I could even be okay with. And this is the first one I've actually thought, yeah, I would be okay with this. Not only would I be okay with it, I would be encouraging it. Mbappe has to be one of the best players on earth. At his age, you sit there and you see what he can become, and we all want Martial to become that. But it's like, if Jose's going to be here, and Martial's not in his plans going forward, but we want him to be, there has to be very few people that the fans would actually back switching Martial for. I find him to be one of them. And it does seem like we had Sandro all set up. We were going to pay £60 million for him, and then one day it dropped. And you start to think of the way this board of idiots fund this team, and you think about the money that Mourinho gets, and I'm genuinely thinking that something big is coming, which is why some of these deals have stalled right away. Alderweireld and Sandro seem to just stop on a dime, and wherever the sources were, they seem like they had legs before that.
The thing about Mbappe is I can't see why he would want to come to Manchester United, because we've got to be pragmatic about it. And, you've done some of the watch-alongs with me, and the football is slow. The creativity is 50% of what even teams like Spurs are creating in relation to chances on goals. We've said it. Lukaku's surviving on about 2.5 chances a game, whereas Kane is well over 5.5 chances a game. So I suppose that's the thing with someone like Kylian Mbappe. He's gone from Monaco to PSG. PSG scoring goals for fun because he's in a pub league with a great side. We're Manchester United. We can do any business, but I just think Mbappe, a young player. I personally think a Bale or a Neymar is more likely than an Mbappe, because he's still a youngster looking to develop, and he will look at what's happened with Martial and the sort of football United have played, and surely, no matter what money's on the offer, he would say, no, that's not for me.
I agree with that. I think the style of play we've had this season and how youngsters have not developed under Mourinho goes against us. I don't know. If we pay £200 million for Bale, we are as stupid as it gets, because he is not worth £200 million. And for what you could get for £200 million and what this squad needs, I hope that's not the direction we go. So then the question is just, what's next? Because it does seem like no matter what, and you said this before, at the end of this transfer window, we may not be happy. Every fan is not going to be happy with the results of it. It just seems that we are going to have to start making decisions, either this or that. Whereas it used to be, get what you need in and figure it out from there.
I just want to ask you a question as well, because a lot of people are getting excited about the World Cup. I meant to ask our previous callers about this, and I will go through the live comments, everybody, in a minute. But in fact, we may as well do it now. Who do you think is going to be the standout player for Manchester United in this World Cup? I don't know whether you've given it much thought, but Lukaku at Belgium.
I actually threw a bet on him to be the leading scorer. I think Belgium's going to win the World Cup, and I have this weird feeling that if they do, it will be because Lukaku is functioning perfectly in that team, and there's not really a backup striker who's going to compete with him in that sense. So I really do see him excelling. And again, who else would excel from our team? I think Pogba needs to show a lot, but again, it just seems that there is so many people in the press against Pogba that he has some inner demons to work out before he becomes a truly world-class player. And I think Lukaku is a substantially stronger mental state than Pogba's at.
Nathan McIntosh says we need Savic, we need a Cruz-type player. Maybe Milinkovic-Savic will be the standout player, but he won't be a United player in the window. Lukaku's a good shout. I've seen a few people
De Gea, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say De Gea may be for me, but then again, are Spain going to play teams that are going to pepper his goal like Manchester United? And actually, maybe De Gea won't have a great tournament, because it depends how far Spain go. Belgium are in England's group. They should walk that group. I think England and Belgium should go through that quite comfortably. And then I think is it Colombia or sort of Poland you're probably going to get in the next round. So I just think with Roberto Martinez, that's a bit of a weakness there. But other players, Pogba, yes. I just can't see him doing that great. And then the English lads, I've got a funny feeling Lingard might have a good tournament. I don't know why. Rashford, I don't think will get many minutes. So yeah, Lukaku probably is about right, really. A few people in the live comments there were just saying this is great news about the left back situation, because it means Luke Shaw can play. I don't think he will. I think he'll still be Ashley Young's understudy, won't he, next season, if we don't sign a left back.
So here's the one thing. There's no way Luke Shaw stays as an understudy, because Mourinho knows how annoying people have been about him not playing. So I think he's either shipped off or Mourinho has found something in him that he likes. It's not impossible to think they actually do team up with him and Young, in the sense that they will not play each game, but they will alternate and keep each other fresh, because both of them have deficiencies. Young is too old to play every game. Shaw can't stay fit enough to play every game. Maybe Mourinho finds them together as a good pairing, I don't like that. I think you have to have the same people in the 11 continuously to be successful. So again, I've never been a big Shaw fan, but I am willing to take the idea that he could grow into the player we want him to be. And if Mourinho doesn't sign someone, I really have to. It's not because of Ashley Young. It's not like yes, Ashley Young will be the guy playing, but it's because he believes Luke Shaw will be sufficient as not only a backup, but as a starter for half the games, because Young cannot start the amount of games he would have to start at left back. It's impossible. He'll fall apart halfway through the season. So I don't know. I think right back is better sorted than left back, but I think that there must be a big signing coming in, or I think there would have been more work done earlier, because I know Mourinho likes his signings done early. So I think it could be a really big week for United.
Yeah, I've just realised I've not even bothered to share the link on this on Twitter. So if anybody wants to share the link, that would be fantastic. It's probably why we started off with a bit low numbers. Well, thanks for calling in, Jared. Great points as ever, and nice to get you on.
Pleasure as always. See you guys. Good luck, England.
Cheers, pal. They'll need it. The thing I was going to pick up on that there was that the point from Jared was about the left back situation. I mean, this make do situation with the left back does worry me a little bit. I'll come back to that in a minute, actually, because we've had a contribution from Graham Outerbridge, like the name. He says, what are the chances Jose reverts to 4-2-3-1 and Pogba takes the number 10 role with Fred and Matic holding? They could do that. I've even heard people, when we were linked to Alderweireld, saying that maybe we'll go to the 3-5-2, which I thought worked quite well in November. We all assume a 4-3-3, but who knows? I still think last season, the best period of play we had, I know we beat a lot of teams 4-0 FC at the start of the season, but we played a lot of crap at the start of the season. In November, we played good opposition and good football with a sort of counter-attacking element, but a defensive base. It was 3-5-2 at Arsenal and Watford. Worked really well, and he abandoned it. And so maybe we could go back to that, because Ashley Young would work better in a situation like that than a flat back four. But the point that I wanted to come back to is that Jared was saying, well, maybe we'll get Luke Shaw and Ashley Young to share the left back position. That could be an option, because if you think about it, the one thing we've all spoken about quite a lot with Jose, which amazes me, is that the centre back partnership has pretty much changed every week throughout the season. I think at the start it was Jones and Bailly for a few weeks. Then I think one of them got injured, probably Jones, and we had that rotation, and it continued all season. And I agree with Jared. I think you've got to have a consistent balance and selection process in relation to your back four. But Jose didn't necessarily show that last season with his centre back. So maybe we will see that. But as I said before, I just don't like the process of the making do. Oh, we'll make do with a left back to maybe spend money elsewhere. I just personally think that you win titles with teams. You don't win titles with individuals. And if we are saving our money up for a big marquee signing, instead of balancing it across the squad and bringing a few players in around 40-50 million, that would serve United better, I feel. But we'll see. Even Moyes schooled Jose last season, says Zotti Moon. Kieran Burns says, no point getting another centre-back, because if we get to a final, we'll play Jones and Smalling anyway. And Garth Francis says, we've always had chances to play Rashford at 10 and Lukaku up front. Don't you think those two would do well up front together? I don't know whether they've got the ball control as a two to hold it up and sort of make things happen. But apparently Lukaku's just scored for Belgium, says Jared. And I think Belgium are going to be a really interesting team to watch. And Kieran thinks there might only be one more signing, and that could be Milinkovic-Savic. If it was Milinkovic-Savic, Kieran and everybody, I'll be very happy if he was our next signing, but that can't be it. If somebody said to me in May, we're going to sign Dalot, Fred and Milinkovic-Savic, I'd have said, who the hell is Dalot for a start? Oh, he's an up-and-coming right-back who might be used as a left-back. Great! I love right-footed left-backs, and I'll let that out a bit. But Fred and Savic are obviously good signings, but it's not enough. It's not enough. Why? If that was our three signings, my question would be, why are we buying a development player? Why are we buying somebody who's a great potential player for 20 million when we need now? This season, we mustn't move away from the fact that this season coming up is the season. Last season was a joke. Some of the things Mourinho did was a joke. But a lot of us, me included, are like, this is your third year. Go prove us all wrong. It's not another development year. We can't have 3 development years under one manager. It's got to get it right this year. So I would not accept, well, I'd have to accept it, but I don't think, even if it was Milinkovic, Savic and Fred, Delo, that's not good enough. We need far better than that this summer, and the club need to back the manager. They do. They really, really do. Right, let's take another caller. Jeff's been calling in for a while. Let's see if we can get Jeff on. Hello, Jeff. Can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going, Mark?
I'm good, thanks. You?
Hear me, Mark?
Yeah, perfect, mate.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Doing good.
What do you want to talk about?
Just a really good show today. Some of the callers were pretty spot on. I just the idea of Savage is obviously would be great. I think it does sort of clog up the midfield a bit, but we got to have squad depth because that's a major issue. I really hope Fellaini goes. That'd pretty much make my summer. I also just was maybe kind of wondering your thoughts on what about filling some of our needs with some of our youth. We always get so sort of enamored with this transfer business, and you got guys like Fosu Mensah, and what about Pereira coming back, and I think we kind of filled a stronger team, that at least the one that we had this year anyway, with just one more good signing and play some of our younger guys. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, a couple of people have said it, including yourself now, that if you bring Savic in, you've got Fred, Matic and Pogba already here, and we're a bit top-heavy then with first-team midfielders if we're going to play 3. But then, if you scratch the surface, if Fellaini's gone and Carrick's gone, behind those 4 first-teamers going for 3 spots, you really only got McTominay and Herrera. But you're right. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Fosu Mensah and Pereira. I've always felt that Pereira might have burnt his bridges with Mourinho because Mourinho didn't want him to go on loan to Valencia, and he did. I mean, Pereira seems open to coming back and working hard, but will he be given the opportunities? Fosu Mensah, I don't know. I think Fosu Mensah could be looking at another loan. The Crystal Palace one was really good in parts, but in other parts it wasn't. And then we've signed this Portuguese right back, which is maybe where I thought Fosu Mensah could be used. I mean, I don't know. Well, I don't think Chong and Gomez are anywhere near ready. I don't think they'll be involved next season. But in relation to Pereira, and I think Twansibi will go on loan again, but Pereira and Fosu Mensah, I think decisions need to be made about those. I mean, what are your thoughts? Would you have them involved in the first team, or do you think he might move them off on loan, or even maybe sell Pereira?
I feel like Pereira should kind of get a chance on the right. I mean, if he can't be, I'm not totally sold on Jesse Lingard, but why couldn't Pereira fill in and maybe get some minutes over on the right? I don't necessarily. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, Lingard, Pereira. I think I'd love to see what Pereira could do. Just love to see him get a chance.
I mean, this might be a little bit controversial, but I've always felt this, that Mata is touching 30 now, and I think he's only got 1 year left on his contract. Whatever people think about Juan Mata, and I love Juan Mata, I think he's been misused at United last season. I think his first season under Mourinho it was okay, but last season he just was in and out of the team. Seemed to be made scapegoat for the West Brom loss, even though Sanchez and Pogba were terrible as well. A player of Juan Mata's quality and career, considering he's won World Cups and things like that, he should be playing far more regularly than a place on United's bench. And I just feel that maybe if we were to move, like Mata was to move, then maybe Pereira can slot into that position, like you say, on the right midfield. I mean, a lot of people are saying, we need Willian, but maybe Pereira and Lingard could cover that right midfield position. I
agree. Willian, that's another one of those age things. I don't want to just keep getting older for the sake of getting older. I know Jose loves experience and stuff, but you got some good young kids that they need to. I think need to get some minutes, just so you can make decisions on their future. Because how do we make a decision on Fosu Mensah? How do you make a decision on Pereira when nobody ever sees we never even get to see if there's any progress being made?
Yeah, definitely. Just quickly, I just want to ask you one thing as well. Emmanuel Petit, talking about Pogba for France, has said that he needs to get angry on the pitch. I mean, United fans have more or less, some have been saying that, some have been saying getting off his back. I mean, what's your thoughts on Pogba? I mean, up and down 2 years. Do you think he is missing something from his game, or are you still confident that he will be a great signing for us?
I think he's one of my favorite players in the squad. I think sometimes he kind of gets kind of a little unfair on Pogba from some of the fans. I just think that he is one of those kind of guys that if you kind of put your arm around his shoulder and say, hey, you're my guy, you might get a little more out of him. I think, Jose has a real tough time sort of doing that. A lot of tough love for Pogba and obviously Luke Shaw. But, I think when people say I've been reading stuff like that, that Pogba needs to play angry, it just seems like when he does that, he makes more mistakes. And it just seems like sometimes it kind of snowballs with him. It looks like he seems more effective to me. It's the games that from this season when he's having a little bit more fun, we seem to get a better player.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Where are you calling from? America, is it?
Yep, I'm in the U.S.
Cool.
California.
Well, you've got nice weather there. It's not too bad here today, to be fair, Jeff. But thanks for calling in, mate. Really good call.
Excellent. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, pal.
Great show.
Just to pick up on that last point from Jeff about Pogba, I think he's hit the nail on the head, really, because I do think Pogba does miss, like Petit says, and many of you have said, that he does miss that aggression that maybe we saw in a Roy Keane or a Rooney or a Robson. But Pogba's 25 now. He's not going to just... I think Emmanuel Petit's probably naive. He's not just going to add that to his game. He is what he is, and Jeff's right. When Pogba plays well, he does it with a smile on his face. And when he plays bad, he gets frustrated. He just hasn't got that leader aggression that the greats have got. And he's going to have to be the great Paul Pogba, if he's going to be the great Pogba, the way he is. And the question will be, can he do that? What Pogba lacks is consistency. What Pogba frustrates me about is that he can play brilliantly against, like world class against Arsenal in November, and then we can have a run of games against Tosh, like West Brom at home, and you think Pogba against this sort of midfield should be running the show, and he doesn't run the game against the lesser teams, and that's, as I've said before, look at De Bruyne last season, look at Mo Salah last year, last season, week in, week out, no matter who the opposition is, brilliant, unless you're playing Ashley Young. But Pogba, yeah, you can get brilliance, but there's no consistency, and that's what United are struggling with. John Brooks made a contribution. Thank you, John. He says, Mark, my question is, before Sanchez signed, the United stand had 180,000 subscribers. You have now got 233. How does it make you feel that you're so followed on YouTube? Very, very proud of you lot, really, because this show, as far as I know, is one of the only shows in the fan community where we take live Skype shows, where we take Skype calls or calls from you live, and we're certainly the first to do it. And obviously the live comments has always been part of our shows, and we've always sold ourselves on being that sort of channel that's about real fan opinion, which you can water down, you can focus on certain topics, be very easy to just ignore certain things and focus on certain things. So I'm very proud that we've collectively built your channel, The United Stand, which is about fan opinion, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. That's what it's all about. It's those chats down the pub. It's the chats on the school train. It's school bus, train to work, coffee shop, whatever. It's the frustrations and ecstasy of being a fan. That's what The United Stand is. We never know from show to show where we're going to go, because you might have a couple of notes, but you'll see something in the live comments. Somebody will call in, and it will just be fantastic. So thanks for that. And Daniel, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's going on, Mark? It's a hat trick of Yanks.
Oh, yes, it is. You sound like you're in a coffee shop yourself, but fly away. What do you want to talk about?
I just want to ask you a question, really. How can you be so optimistic in Mourinho's third year when I'm just not seeing it, man? I'm not seeing it at all. Going backwards. If he's going to stay with Ashley Young at left back, that just is going to be bad news. I mean, let's just say that signing Delo and Fred cuts, 3 points, 4 points off of City's lead at the top. You're still talking about being 15 points behind. You keep an Ashley Young there, it's probably only going to increase because he's getting a year older. What are you now, 20 points back? You'd be lucky to finish top four. And how far were Liverpool off of City? 20-something points, right? Yeah. Sounds like us next year.
I mean, I'm not going to... I think an element of realism is exactly, that we're just talking about the channel and how it works. And I before the season ended, I was positive about next year because I just felt that there was nobody better than Mourinho and he must be given the 3 years. Maybe there was an element of stubbornness to that. It's like, he's caused this mess of last year. Now he's the special one. Don't sack him. Don't let him go. Let's see what he's going to do in the third year, because third year progress that he talks about has to be the title. Now I've got low expectations about the title, but having said that, over the last few weeks, the change in the coaching staff could be a positive. I think Fred's a positive because it's something that he's never signed before. I do want him to have the third year, but I'm certainly not saying we're going to win the league. I think the transfer window needs to be far, far better than what we've got at the moment. It is early days, but it does. And I do agree with you that it is a 20-point gap at the end of the day. And I said this on Sunday or Saturday. We did very well against the top 4 sides last season. We took a lot of points off those. To do that next year is a hell of a feat, because it's always a challenge to take points off the top 4. We took a lot of points there, and people focus on the amount of points we dropped again. People are basically saying, some fans are saying, well, if we just win those points against Newcastle and West Brom and Huddersfield, we've closed the gap by nearly 12 points. But we've also got to replicate against what we did against the top 4. So, and I do agree with you about Ashley Young. If he's playing at left back, we probably will. I don't think even second, I think third. So there are a lot of question marks. I just always felt Mourinho should be given the third year. That's what I felt. I'm not necessarily positive that we're going to win the title. If you're asking me now, I don't think we can. But in August, it might be a little bit more optimistic.
Right. No, and after 20 something years of having the greatest manager of all time, leading the squad out there, week in, week out, you get a little spoiled. And I understand having the third year because the sacking of the managers is just is fashionable, and that's all that happens these days. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm almost hoping that we don't sign anybody at left back, so that way we could fail with Ashley Young and he could leave after this year, because it's just he's hurting us more than he's helping us. I'm not saying we're not progressing, and we've gone up in the table and we do have the silverware that Moyes and Van Gaal really couldn't deliver, but I mean, there's just too much going on with the guys that we have, young players that we have that aren't performing at the levels they should be, and that's down to the manager. And it's not because of they don't have Martial's pouty, or Rashford's not taking his chance or whatever. There's nobody there to encourage them. There's no leaders there to encourage them. It's part of the problem. Like Pogba, the Petit said that he needs to get angry to play, and some guys will say that Mourinho is not his type of manager, but he's played under Conte, who's a very demanding manager. He's played under Allegri, who's a very demanding manager. But they had leaders in the team. They had Pirlo there, guys that were that have been playing at the top of their game for 10, 12 years. They had Bonucci, they had Chiellini. Who's leading them out at Man United that Pogba could learn from, Carrick aside, and how many games did he play last year? 5. It's just not good enough. You're not going to get the best out of him. They're going to get the best out of him when he's no longer on the team. And it's just a sad reality, because I just don't see the manager helping him out at all.
If you had your way, I mean, I asked this to another caller. What do you want United to do this summer? I mean, you haven't got $1 billion to spend. You've probably got 200 million max, and we've spent 70 of it already. I mean, what do you feel United need to do? You mentioned the left back. Obviously, I would have thought you'd go there. But what other positions? Because people differ on this. Some want forwards, some want centre backs, some want midfielders.
Well, first thing I would do is Mourinho would be out, and I'd be calling up Ralph Hasenhüttl at Leipzig, who's now out of a job. He resigned. But that aside, because I think he's one of the best managers out there. I mean, he took Leipzig from the Bundesliga 2 to Bundesliga. They finished second in the Bundesliga their first year there. Brought up Timo Werner. Tons of guys that are not even 23 yet, and that's how you develop a team. Much like Pochettino's doing. But being that we can't sack Mourinho, or we won't, got to get a right-sided player. We have none. Pereira's not the answer, because he's not going to come back and play there. We're going to sell him in the summer, because Mourinho already said we don't play with a player that plays on the right side. He basically said we don't play with a right winger. So that's kind of renders his position ineffective. Don't think we need a center back. You have Bailly, you have Lindelof. Probably need a number 10. I'd agree with what Paul said on the Sunday night show last night. You probably need to play with 2 forwards. I mean, Ranieri did it and won the league. If you have let's say you did have a Timo Werner up there playing off of a Lukaku, or you had an Mbappe. I know it's a little unrealistic, because he probably wouldn't come to us, but a super, super fast player, lightning quick, getting behind everybody, playing off of a guy who's also fast but strong, could hold the ball up. I mean, you'd be giving a lot of the better teams problems. I just don't see a lot of areas where we could get a lot better that's going to make a big difference. I just don't. Even if we get Savage, and I like Savage a lot, I watch a fair bit of Lazio because Serie A is on quite a bit in the States. How many points does he take off of a 20-point gap? It's just there's not enough there. It's just gone. I think the main problem is you just got to start over new, cut the dead weight is the first. Blend, Darmian, guys like that. Then you ask the manager. You get one of these guys in their 40s, early 40s. They could actually build something. Play guys like Rashford week in, week out, Martial week in, week out, Fosu Mensah. You'd see Chung and Gomez last year if you had a Pochettino type manager. You would have seen them for half a season. The fact that you've seen Gomes for 20 minutes against Yeovil and Chung never, speaks testament to how Mourinho is as a manager. And it's just sad. It's just disappointing. And I want to be optimistic, but I just can't.
Mate, this is the platform to do it. It's all about different opinions, and that's the great thing about it. Thanks for calling in, Daniel. Nice to hear from you again, and please do call in soon.
Absolutely, Mark. Enjoy the World Cup, pal.
You too, pal. Cheers. I stuttered out with that because I realised he's American, so I just, maybe won't enjoy the World Cup. But no, there's lots of good things. I was just looking at that, actually. In relation to the World Cup, I saw somebody on about there's no football for weeks and weeks and weeks. The World Cup starts on Thursday. The World Cup finishes on the weekend of the 14th and 15th of July. And on the Friday after that, United play Club America in Arizona. So we have got pretty much football every few days until Christmas now and beyond. Next April, May. So loads and loads of football, which is absolutely fantastic. And very, very, very excited about the World Cup because I love me football. And if you are not subscribed to our other channel, which is That's Football, which covers all football, we're doing watch-alongs for the World Cup on there. So if you are like me, you will be watching Morocco-Iran, you will be watching Russia-Saudi Arabia, but you're like, what am I going to be doing in those games? Well, we've got a live comments, watch-along setup on That's Football. Get your beer in, get your soft drinks, whatever you are, your snacks and all that. Come with a few topics to discuss if it's boring. I'm going to have some World Cup banter. That's Football. Subscribe and get involved. Start kicks off on Thursday with that. A lot of people talking about Philip Max as left back. I'm going to talk about him on Transfer Daily tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And it was a great call, Callum Hack. I think we've had some fantastic calls tonight. Apologies for those who didn't get on, but do keep trying. But please do, I always say this, it's the most important video we do to drop a like on the video because these are people like yourselves. They are the United Stand community, like all of you lot who make this channel work, who call in and give their opinions. Not easy to do it, but I don't think we've had anybody nervous do it for quite a while now because you'll always be respected to and listened to because your opinion matters. So please do drop a like on the video and support the United Stand callers and community who are all of you. What about Vidal for just 2 years, says Lee Poskett. I've gone very, very quiet about Vidal, Lee, but we have spoken about him back in May time. He may well be an option. I think it's just gone very quiet with the transfer window at the moment. Very quiet. And it will kick in. It could kick in an hour's time. It could kick in 2 days' time. But there's no reason for it to be quiet. I spoke about this morning on the Transfer Daily. There's no reason for it to be quiet. There should be business being done. I've got my theory. I'll talk about it tomorrow at 7 a.m. But tonight was all about your lot's opinions. I am starting to think there's nothing in the Sandro deal. I mean, the trouble with Alex Sandro is I do this every season, and I don't know about you. Every close season, this seems to happen to me. There's one player that I really want, sometimes two, and we very rarely get them. Last year it was Fabinho. The year before it was Griezmann. It was Griezmann again last year as well. But there's always a player that I focus on that I really want at United that I think would be really, really good. And I think this year, Alex Sandro is going to be that player that we don't get, that I will be going, oh, we should have got him. But also there was that call before saying about Griezmann. And let's not forget, whatever we achieved last season, I do agree with Daniel that Mourinho was the problem last year. It was his rubbish football that bored everybody to death. He must sort that out. But also, we never really mention it. Well, I do. Perisic was a player that Mourinho wanted, and they didn't deliver him. And we've got nobody who can cross the ball, and Perisic can deliver the ball from both sides, set pieces and corners. I mean, that would have made us a better team. And on top of that, we wanted Griezmann. We'd put a lot of work into that Griezmann deal, and at the last minute he decided to stay. And Liverpool are going to be the victim of this as well. When you put a lot of work into a big player that you really, really want, and they pull out at the last minute or for whatever reason, you don't just go Griezmann to Bale, because Bale will be like, no, I'm at Real Madrid. You can't just go and pluck somebody out of the sky. You're very lucky if you can. So that Griezmann thing didn't help us last year either. Nick Pecorari, thanks for the contribution. And thanks to everybody in the live comments tonight. It's been a fantastic show. Really enjoyed it. I love Skype show. So thanks everybody who's called in. Thanks everybody in the live comments. We've had some really, really good comments tonight as well. Don't miss the 7 a.m. show tomorrow, because it's got a poll on it where you can vote, and it's a theory, but I need your opinion on it. So 7 o'clock tomorrow morning UK time. Make sure you wake up, get the United Stand on. 10 minutes is all it will take. That's all I ever do in relation to shows, not talking about anything else. But thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoyed it. And don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere over the summer. We're still going to be doing the shows. We're still going to be together. So even if it's a boring day for news, we'll find something that we can all talk about. Keep the community together. Keep spreading the word about the United Stand. And really appreciate your comments, both live and below. Loving the love for the community. It's our community. United Stand Army. Let's go. Thanks for watching.